The goal of a YouTube channel needs to be clear, or does it? Hi guys, my name is Maurice Lungu and this is my first official video. If you saw my last video, you will notice that it was unscripted and planned, and there was a reason for that. I watched a video by Ali Abdal where he was suggesting that if you keep procrastinating the starting of a video, the best thing is to just get an imperfect video and just record yourself and get started. So that's what I decided to do, and I guess the momentum really does get you somewhere, and after a lot of procrastination, here we are. So that's how I got started, and I'm sorry I didn't get to introduce myself in the first video because it was unscripted, so I didn't quite um, give enough detail. It wasn't so well planned. Yeah, but anyway, part of my lack of manners, blame it on the perfectionism. To be honest, right now I'm a professional writer, even though I wear several hats. Yeah, too many hats actually. You understand in a minute. I think the best way I can describe myself is as a lifelong learner. I love learning and trying out new things all the time. So that's just something about me. And I'll tell you just a few things about my life so that you know where I started from and how I got to this point and where we'll be going from here. So I rarely tell people this about myself, but the first thing I was in the past was a musician. It actually started when we were kids, like growing up in third grade. Me and my best friend would rhyme all the time. So would come up with rhymes like, say, maybe cat, fat, and bat. Is it safe to say that? I'm not sure. I remember those things were a little bit political, but yeah. Anyway, let me use a safer word, like maybe call. Yeah, so we'd rhyme with call, and would say ball, then I would say fall. Yeah, then maybe door, and then it would go on like that. After some time, my best friend came up with this idea that let's come up with a song. So I was like, yeah, great idea. And so we ended up writing a song. But I think he wasn't very honest because, as you can imagine, my first song was like really horrible. It makes me cringe up to now when I think about it. I still remember it word for word, but I'll never do it again, like ever. Yeah, and I think he wasn't really being very honest with me because his verse was fire. I think he had been doing it for a long time, and I just didn't know about it. But anyway, I digress. And yeah, so we ended up doing a song, and we came up with many songs after that. And then over time, I became very good at that. But don't count on hearing any songs from me right now because I don't want to chase you guys away with horrible music. Yeah, I might be the Phoebe Buffet in in this life. Yeah, but yeah, maybe tone deaf, and I think my songs were good. Maybe people aren't being very honest with me. So for the most part, if you ever want to hear those songs, stick around. I might leave a few links when we get to like 5,000 subs. Yeah, so 5,000 subscribers at that point, I might consider having you guys listen to my songs. Newsflash: if you haven't caught on, this is also a way of making sure that you guys stick around until 5,000 subs. I think it's brilliant. For those of you who will be there, yeah, all the best when you actually hear it. Moving on, I ended up studying a career in music, and then I actually did music professionally to some degree. I did it for close to like 15 years. And then after that, I just quit. So it was like my childhood passion, which I chased for a while. Yeah, then the next thing that I did with my life was to study law at the University of Zambia. I think law was my first real professional job. I graduated in 2014, and then I took a sabbatical for 2 years just to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I pursued music during my sabbatical as well as other things. And then I later came back, cleared the bar exam, and practiced in Zambia as a lawyer for about 5 years. Being a lawyer was a great experience. It was amazing to see all the things that I learned from law school and just put them into practice and help people who are in sometimes very desperate situations. Yeah, it was really nice, and the prestige and the status which comes with being a lawyer is also nice. However, after practicing law for like a few years, I wasn't feeling as much fulfillment. So this is how I kind of had to take another sabbatical. Now, in the early days of my law career, my financial situation was a bit bad because my starting salary, when you're starting out, the salary is like a bit low. And then I've taken out a loan previously because there's some project that I'd been working on. So after the loan deductions and that low salary, I could barely manage to cover like expenses. So I was forced to be creative and recognized the tremendous power of YouTube. So I I started looking for ways to make money on YouTube. And after watching several videos, most of them are scams, as you can imagine, I fortunately stumbled upon a video by Jillian Perkins where she was talking about how you can make money freelancing on a site called Fiverr. One of the ways she mentioned was that you could easily get started on Fiverr. And yeah, she left the link out there. So I just clicked the link, went to Fiverr, and this was around 2019. I discovered that Fiverr was actually a platform which allowed you to provide freelance services to people that needed services in exchange for money. So I checked the services available and what services I could provide. And I knew that at that time, because I loved writing, so I obviously knew like it would have to involve writing for me to provide some good service. So I set up a writing gig. It was actually about writing resumes for people and designing them for them, and cover letters and CVs and things like that. The essence was to help them increase their chances of getting called for an interview and landing a job. The other gigs which I was offering was a speech writing gig and also writing blog articles for people. Yeah, so as fate would have it, my resume writing gig took off first because my friends and family would buy from Fiverr. And yeah, so it started to grow from there, and I started making some good money. At least I was able to cover my bills as well as have a bit left over for other things. However, as a creative person, like resume writing is it's more of logic and reasoning. It's not as creative, and so I thought like my creativity was being hogged down still. So after many months of being on Fiverr, somebody eventually ordered my speech writing gig. And at the time, my speech gig was like, I think $5. Yeah, so anyway, I delivered that, and yeah, they loved it. It gave me a 5-star rating, and that's how I think the algorithm picked me up, and many people started ordering from me as well. And from there, things started to really grow, and my speech writing gig actually got to a point where I could actually start making enough to live off it. When the speech writing gig took off, I realized how much fun and creative and the amount of satisfaction I got from speech writing was just like really amazing, because I got to present things for people in a way that they would want using my skill, which is essentially what I would do as a lawyer. Yeah, so help people present their case in a good way. And yeah, and I was also like using the skills from my musical background. So because musicians would always find a very creative and amazing way of presenting to a crowd, like pleasing the crowd. So it's the same thing with speech writing. It's just with my love for writing, I'll combine all these skills from the past and bring out this thing which is bringing me a lot of fun and fulfillment. And I love the speech writing, and I've written so many speeches for people, become like very good at it over time. And one of the other things with speech writing is like every time it's like you get to do research, because it's people who are from like different backgrounds, different fields, some you've never heard of, and then you just go into their fields, study exactly what they're supposed to say, figure out who their crowds are, and then present the information as best as possible. So because of the joy and enjoyment I got from speech writing, I ended up like writing many speeches, and I grew on Fiverr until I got to a place where I could just survive just by doing that. When I got to that point of survival, like I once again decided to take a sabbatical from the practice of law, because despite having worked so hard, I wasn't getting as much fulfillment from it. And also on the sabbatical, I decided to start this YouTube channel. Just so you know why I started this YouTube channel, there's a reason. Like during my first sabbatical, like after finishing university, I had identified one way of giving back to my community was to give motivational speeches to the schools within the local community. And I'd make presentations at those schools. I'll be teaching the kids the importance of discipline, how to like be smart at school, and how to study, financial advice, and all these things which school generally doesn't cover. And I got so much joy out of doing that. I got so much joy out of presenting the talks to kids. And I remember the best part was that the kids seemed to love this information as well, because I remember there was one time I was at a boarding school and the bell rang for the kids to go to have their meal, but they stayed on and kept on begging me to continue presenting to them. And now I'm several years older than these kids, and if the kids are telling you like, no, we want to keep on hearing what you have to say, then it means the content was a bit special. The kicker was actually that even their teacher was also there, and he was also ecstatic about the information and just allowed me to go on. So after going on and presenting to them, the kids really thanked me for helping them figure out school and life. And I think this is something which motivates me very much, because after some time, when I was presenting this show, pretty much the same information on radio at University of Zambia, one of the kids asked me like, "Oh, you're Mr. Morris, right?" I was like, "Yeah," even though that's Mr. is my father. You can just call me Morris. Yeah. So he said, "Oh yeah, I remember you came to give us a talk back in the day, and I kept that information, and the little handouts you gave us, I still have it right now, and I use it to help me study." So I found that very, very powerful, and I was really motivated by that. Like I was touched. This is something I'd done maybe 3, 4 years previously, and this young man was still hanging on to that. It urged me to continue giving out this knowledge for free. One of the things which motivates me, or which irks me actually in life, is that I've noticed people can finish school or can do badly at school and think like that's what their life revolves around, and that they'll never amount to anything. But that's not true. Like I feel like if you have at least if you can read and write and you can learn anything, you can watch a video, you're pretty much unstoppable, regardless of whatever you're going through in your life. Yeah. So with just like a high school education, I feel like you have the power within you to get the other disciplines which are necessary for you to succeed and to grow from there. And that's something which is not being said. So essentially, there are two types of education which are there. And then the first kind is the formal education, which you find from school, and yeah. And then the second kind of education, which is the self-education, which you get from like by watching YouTube videos and also by reading and yeah, your own life experiences. Yeah, so the challenge which I've had with school is that it focuses on mainly three intelligences. There's a book by Tony Buzan, which called The Power of Verbal Intelligence, which outlined that there are about 10 intelligences, and those school focuses only on three. Yeah, so the intelligences school focuses on are numeric intelligence, which is to do with math and those things, and then verbal intelligence, like speaking, English, science, because science uses English, and yeah, so geography uses English, history uses English. So those are the verbal intelligences it requires. And then it also takes spatial intelligence, which is like space and shapes and things to do like that. Trigonometry. I never used trigonometry, but yeah, anyway, we learned it. So yeah, those things. And then there's these other intelligences which school doesn't focus on, like there's physical intelligence, which is to do with sports, running and things like that. And the creative intelligence doesn't use as much of that unless you're doing art. And yeah, so the musical intelligence and spiritual intelligence. So there's all these other intelligences which people have, but school doesn't focus on those. And then what happens is that if you're strong in those areas, but weak in the few intelligences which school focuses on, you end up thinking you're not very smart, when in reality it's ridiculous, because you can be good at these other 7 and terrible at these 3 and think you're bad when you've scored 70% of the test. It's like, so you score 70% of the test and you think you're a failure. Like really, yeah, it doesn't add up. Some of my passion is to bring out these things, these absurdities in life which are holding people back, people with so much talent, because I believe everybody who's like 18 going up is like a book of knowledge. They have so much experience, so many skills they've learned, which they can make a life for themselves out of that. But if they fail at school, then they think they won't amount to anything. And yeah, it's really hurting when you see people waste their potential and get into like wrong vices just to try to cope with life and yeah, destroy their lives when they're so full of potential. So I'm trying to tap into that potential and bring it to the fore and make sure that as many people as possible find the magic within them and bring it to life. Something which I said in my book is that when someone's good at stuff which is not focused on in school, we'll say that they're talented. So like a good basketball player, oh, he's got talent in basketball, but you don't want to say he's intelligent in basketball. When the truth is, they are intelligent in basketball. They've got high physical intelligence. Yeah. So if people knew that, I feel like many people would go walking around with their heads high, even if they did not perform so strongly in school. But because school is the standard, and every time you flunk from school, you feel like, no, I'm not smart enough. I'm not. So you keep on going low. I always give an example of relationships. Like people can be 4 or 5 bad relationships, and they'll never say, I'm terrible at relationships. They'll always blame the other people, or they'll never kick themselves down for that. But you go school, fail 3 times, like your confidence is just gone. And that's understandable because intelligence is a very personal thing. It's an extremely personal thing. So that's something we need to understand. But there's no difference between failing at relationships and failing at school. You just have to keep on and don't lose your confidence. Just accept, okay, I'm not so good at this. Let me focus on this. Yeah. So that's essentially what I'm trying to say. Albert Einstein, who's like one of the smartest people who ever lived, put it this way. He said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, then it went to spend its life believing it's stupid. And that's the same thing which happens, there are people who would be good at maybe dancing, and they would make great dancers, international level. But because they flunked out at school, they'll never know that, and they'll keep on holding themselves down without bringing that magic to life. And it's a very tragic thing, actually, when you think about it, because this one kills your confidence, and you don't know that your dancing can take you world places, especially now with social media. There's so many opportunities, and that's something I want to communicate to the world. My personal experience was that when I was at school, I was terrible like with anything to do with sports. I was one of those people who, when it's sports time and people are picking teams, I'll be one of the last people they pick. Like after they picked everybody, and then like, oh, okay, when Maurice remains, and yeah, okay, Maurice can join the team. Yeah, so I always used to feel bad when it was time for sports because I would feel like a failure, and I hated feeling like a failure. So if just imagine sports was a standard for measuring intelligence, I would have come out of there feeling extremely bad. And I think that's the same thing which happens to people who like are good at other things, but school is the standard. For me, sports was the standard, and I was good at like academic things and reading and these other things. I would have been feeling lost there and feeling like a failure. So I'm just trying to help as many people see that they don't have to conform to that standard. They can find their intelligence in other ways. That's one of my experience. So having said that, I need to answer the question. So what is the goal of this channel? Well, I'll put it this way. The goal of this channel is to help people to master the qualities and characteristics which are necessary for them to make it in life, regardless of their academic and social background. Yeah, so regardless of how far you've gone with school and regardless of whether you're rich or poor, just the qualities which are necessary for you to become a success. And success means different things to different people. I understand that. Yeah, but I'm just trying to uplift as many people as possible and to help them reach their greatest selves. That's my goal. And I believe that there's certain characteristics which are necessary for you to get to that level. And that is what we'll be focusing on this channel. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's important for people to understand that. And there are many answers and many questions. And life is very forgiving. It doesn't matter how bad you've had it so far and whether you failed several times. There's a lot you can do from now to turn your life around and start pointing it into the direction you want and start living that life. So I'll focus on continuous learning and improving yourself on the day, working hard, discipline. I've got a lot of good stuff coming up in the next videos, so make sure you don't miss out on this. So please make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so that you receive all the notifications. And if there's specific content that you want to hear, or if they want me to talk about a certain topic, you can leave it in the comments, and I'll make sure that I try to make a video on those comments, or at least I get back to you regarding your request. I know this is like the start, and my vision for this channel will continue to change. As the more I grow, the vision will also grow with me. So please enjoy it. It's a journey, no hard and fixed rules. I believe like life just flows, and you should flow with it. Yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.